Dead silent in there.
It's just
people a few more minutes to get here since we got it right at the end. This is the link and the QR code to the presentation. I'll bring this back up at the end too if you miss it, but that way you can follow along. There's lots of seats up here. This area.
Sometimes that's the only best way to go.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh.
There are lots of seats up here. I see it. A little sooner. everyone. We're gonna get started. If you see more people coming in, if you just wanna, oh, there's still some more. There's some seats up here if you're looking. I'll bring this back up at the end. It is just a link to the presentation, and everything within the presentation, every image is linked to the resource and to additional resources. So really that's more for you when you leave here and go back to your schools, that you can use it however you would like to share with whoever. My name's Kristen Henning. I am an instructional technology specialist in the Spring Grove Area School District, which is back near Hershey, where we usually meet. I am a former ELA teacher. I taught 6th grade ELA for 5 years before I moved to this position. And I didn't have iPads when I started, but it quickly became apparent when we got iPads and I was in this position that it was very easy for the math teachers to find stuff to do on an iPad. Not so easy for the ELA teachers. So I got everything together just to give them examples. And I just did this last week with them. Give them examples of things they could do too. Okay, so I hope that you can find some resources that are helpful for you in your situation. There's a lot of them, so I'll try not to talk too fast, but if I do, everything's linked, so if I don't get to everything, you can have it later, okay? My contact information is on the bottom here, my email and my Twitter. Feel free to reach out anytime. I love to help people. So what we're gonna kind of talk about today, 3 main things. Number 1, accessing leveled digital texts. We talk about differentiation a lot, the need for differentiation, but that's hard to do with ELA, I've found, because there's 2 schools of thought. Number 1, you either have them reading at their level and they're working on the same skills as the other students, or you have them reading on the same level as everyone else in the room. They can't understand it, then they can't work on those same skills. Both schools think that there's pros and cons to those. How are they going to do on a state test when they have to read grade level text? Understandable. But some of these can be used as scaffolds to get them there. Okay, so every once in a while maybe it's better for them to read something on their level as opposed to their grade level. One thing I want to talk to you about for the most part is called finding opportunities. So I brought some books with me. I want to show you some things that I did with those books. I'm a really big proponent of technology integration, but not at the end of the lesson. Okay? It's not something that's a project. It's something I had to really work with my staff on when we moved from having nothing to one-to-one iPads. This is not a project at the end of the lesson, the unit, whatever. This is something you can use every single day. Little snippets that take 5 minutes or less when trained correctly for the kids. And then finally, talking to you a little bit about publishing student work. So those are going to kind of be what we talk about. So our district is one-to-one with iPads. We're very lucky to be in that situation, but it was a big jump. We went from having nothing to having one-to-one iPads. So teachers had to be trained, teachers' mindsets had to be shifted, and now we have all of this access. What do we do with it? So just a little background on how we got there. We started actually with a 1st grade group of teachers at one building and some middle school science teachers, and saw what did we like about the iPads, what worked with them, and then we actually started our rollout K-12 in 1st grade. Then we added 2nd grade, then we added 3rd, which is totally different than most of the things that start at 12th grade or at the high school. Everyone at the high school gets all the new shiny things and you can get the leftovers. We actually started at the bottom and worked our way up, which was unique. But it gave us time to actually look at not just the technology, but also the instructional process that went with that technology. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that here. And then we were also in that weird space of, okay, we're gonna spend money on all these devices, so maybe we're not gonna buy a reading series, or maybe we're not gonna buy a math series. I mean, how many of us are in that, weird spot right now? So we're transitioning our curriculum materials from hardback basal readers to, there's lots of stuff out there. That's what we're told, right? So I'm gonna give you lots of stuff that you can get to that's good, so hopefully you can take some of that back. So some of the benefits of using iPads in an ELA classroom. First one is differentiation. I touched on that a little bit. This is a challenge. It's a challenge to differentiate reading when your goal is to get them all reading the same thing. Okay, so that is a challenge, but we know that we can do it using these tools. It gives us access to a wide variety of text at all levels. So some of the examples I'm going to give you, there's nonfiction, there's fiction, there's poetry, there's all kinds of things, and they're all free. So we can have access to more things than just that pile of books we had in our classroom. You're able to make connections to the text with images, and my colleague John's here with me. He's the upper level. But when we were kind of looking at iPads and Chromebooks, not gonna lie, we were Team Chromebook because you could type, right? It's awesome. But once we started using the iPads, especially with the kids in the classrooms, we started to see that the camera held so much power. Okay? They could make connections to anything around them, to anything they were manipulating, to that physical worksheet, to something they see out the window, connect it to their content, and then they were remembering it better. They were increasing their understanding of that topic. So using images is it's just outstanding with this device. And finally, writing for a wide audience using authentic writing assignments. So it's going to be the publishing part. So how did our classroom organization change before we started using all these tools? We went to small group instruction using the Daily 5, which I have a slide about here, station rotation model, lots of QR codes. That's kind of your entry point with an iPad. Here's a QR code, takes you to a website. Edpuzzle, YouTube, anything. We opened up YouTube for everyone because part of Daily 5 is read to self. Kindergartners and first graders can't read to themselves yet, so they have to watch a video. So that was kind of our entry point. And then we started integrating learning management systems like Seesaw, Google Classroom, and Schoology as a way to not only give information to students, but also retrieve it back from them. This is just an information for you, Daily 5. These are the 5 areas. If you use that in your district, this link is actually to another P&C presentation that I went to a few years ago called a Tech Makeover for Daily 5, when it actually lists each of the areas and then a list of tools that goes along with each one of them. So I stole that so you can have it now. But my teachers have found it useful, so hopefully you can find it useful as well. All right, so the first tool we're going to talk about is ReadWorks. How many of us use ReadWorks already? Perfect. What I love about this, number one, it's free. Number two, it keeps evolving, keeps getting better. Even from last year when I talked about this at P&C, I've had to change this because split screen is now available on the iPad. So I'm going to show you that in a second and what that looks like for students. But all of these are links for you. It talks about all the solutions that ReadWorks provides, the features of it. Article of the day is actually one I want to click on here because this is something that my teachers have really gravitated to. So it's just, you know, really quick at the beginning of the day. The students are given access at the beginning of the week to 5 or 6 articles all on one topic. They get to pick which articles they read. 5 minutes, they read the article, they write down 2 facts about it, okay? It's just getting them reading for more than just answering a question at the end. It's actually getting them interested in a topic, and then they continue reading about it all week. And at the end, this book of knowledge is just a grouping of facts that they learned about frogs or trees or whatever it is that the article of the day grouping was that week. I would say I have, even down to first grade, using this daily, okay? 4, 5, and 6, I have teachers who have added it to every single cycle of their lesson plans. They do this as their warm-up. A short article, okay? Some of them can be even read to the students, so for that 1st and 2nd grade level. Some of the vocabulary is still a little hard. They can listen to it, come up with some facts that they learned, so they're looking at reading as not just a way to answer questions for the test, but reading is how we learn. Reading is how we do something new, okay? You don't have to always be reading a book. You can be reading online, okay? So all of that information is right here, and it's very, very useful. The teacher guides here. You can use ReadWorks purely paper, okay? You can print out the PDFs. Sometimes that's great. I am fighting the battle daily, and you probably all are too. PSSAs are paper and pencil. They have to know how to annotate the text. They have to know how to go back and highlight this. I understand that, I do. But I really promote a balance. So yes, we're gonna teach them that, but we're also gonna teach them how to do that online, because in reality, they're going to be reading more online than we ever did. They're going to be taking tests when they get older online more than we ever did. So we have to give them both experiences. Okay, so let me show you. I'm gonna switch here. What the student part looks like. Yay. Okay. So this is me as a student in ReadWorks. And if I use this digitally as the teacher, I can assign articles to the students. So I'm just gonna click on one of these. So this is Pluto, the planet that wasn't. You can see at the top, one of the tools I have right away is I can listen to this, okay? Now, it's not difficult, but depending on the level of the student, they might be able to answer the questions better if they hear it. Or maybe they listen to it first and then you have them read it themselves the second time. These are all just scaffolds that you can use to get them from not being able to read this independently to reading this level independently. At the top, on the other side, there's some other tools. You can change the size of the text. This little book is what changes this into split screen. Okay, so now I've got my passage over here, my questions here. Okay, people who said they have to be able to see the questions and the passage at the same time. There you go, okay, done. This is a new feature that is now available on iPads, was not before. So they can go back in here. I can even highlight if I select, let's say, this is a fact here. I'm gonna highlight that, put it in blue, so that I can answer one of my questions. I'm going back and doing my highlighting and citing my evidence. Okay, and the same kind of thing, if I click on a word, I can also leave a comment here. So if I wanna make a note about this, I can make a note. So I'm just gonna say note, add note. And then when I get down here, that's highlighted, and I have a little note feature that says, look, there's a note here, okay? So this has really come along in the last 3 years, their digital part, where you can assign a class, you can assign articles to a class, you can assign articles to groups of students, they can highlight, annotate, split screen, see the questions while they're reading, listen to it. Yes?
Do you have to enter your students' names yourself or Google Clever?
You can, I believe it links to Google Classroom. Okay? But otherwise, so, good question. So last week I had some teachers, they could do whatever they want. I don't really care which way they do it. It was just first names I think they entered. So then they would put in the class code, pick their name from the list, enter. Or if they assign from Google Classroom, because some of my K1 and 2s don't use Google very much, so they don't necessarily have them in there. Older students do, so they can just click sign up with Google and be good to go. Okay. Questions about that? Yes?
You're using a Chromebook for it. Does that mean that the split screen stuff is available to other users?
No, I'm on an iPad. It is, yes. Yep. It's all browser based. There's no app for ReadWorks, so it's just a website. But they recently just made it available within Safari that you can do the split screen. So that's another thing in, I don't have an app pushed out to my students for this. It's just a web clip, okay, which is just kind of a shortcut. Okay, all right. I'm gonna switch back here. Try not to make anyone seasick as I do this. I would say by far that is probably one that my teachers use the most as a way to find articles where you can search by grade level, by topic, by standard, and it's very all-encompassing. Okay, here it's student assigned methods, roster, Google sign-in, or Google Classroom. So, yes?
Do all students have to have the same articles?
No, you can make groups. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on. There's some others that are very similar to ReadWorks that I wanna share with you. First one is Smithsonian's Tween Tribune, and just being totally honest, I don't encourage my teachers to use the assignment feature of this. They just send the link of the article they want to the kids. So at the top here you see it says K to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8. So if I go to K to 4, all that's changing is the Lexile number that is highlighted. So these articles are current events, okay? And they're the same article at different Lexile levels. So the vocabulary changes a little bit, but you're getting the same gist of the article. The pictures are the same, the links are the same. So this is more for current events. If I want to say, you know, what you may not know about past presidents, I would just copy this link and I would send it to my kids, make a QR code so that they get to the Lexile level I want them to be at. Now, down here I can choose my Lexile level numbers. There is a quiz for some of these, but most of them just have one open-ended question at the end. One thing my teachers don't like about that is, here's the open-ended question, which presidential fact was most surprising? Then here are all the comments. The comments are listed right here. Okay? So I'm going to show you a way to get around that. But okay, not all of them have quizzes, but some of them do. I like just the open-ended really as a way to reflect on the passage you read. So you're reading for a purpose, not just to answer the 3 questions. Okay? Another one that's very similar to ReadWorks is Common Lit. I'm not going to click on that one, but that is another that you can make accounts for. You can sign with Google. They have high interest articles, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, grouped. They have paired texts, so they might have, you know, like those questions on the test that are like a poem and a fiction article. They have things that are already built together like that. Lots of good in-depth questions. Common Lit has better questions, I think, than ReadWorks, but that's just my opinion. And the third one, Reading Vine, is non-digital. It's not. It's a place where I can go and I can find articles, but it's not a place where you can actually assign them. You pick your articles that you want, you create a PDF, and then you can either send them the PDF or you print out the PDFs. It's really just a warehouse of digital texts. So I'm going to skip this and go right to this. Wakelet is something that I've just started using with my teachers, and the reason I want to talk to you about it today is because it has a new feature called the Immersive Reader. What Wakelet ultimately is just a list of websites, text, images, video. You're curating resources all in one place that's easily shared with a QR code or a link. Okay, that's all it is. Very easy to use. Hit the plus sign, add something. Okay, but they have a new Immersive Reader tool. So if you're able to, either scan this or click on the link if you have the presentation up. I'll give you a second to do that, and then I'll bring it up and I'll show everyone else what it looks like. If you didn't get it, I'm just going to show it to you up here. So it's just wakelet.com. You just make a free account. I am talking about books, so I gave it a book header. Okay, and I'm saying sharing text on Wakelet. There's a video that I posted first from YouTube. It's very clean. Okay, it makes everything in this nice little flow here. But it's how to use the read mode with Immersive Reader. So that's a resource for you for later. So I've added some text here. A few of the text resources I shared can be brought into Wakelet to take advantage of the Immersive Reader tool. So I'm going to give you an example from Reading Vine, Tween Tribune, and Wonderopolis, which I didn't talk about yet. So you'll see here, this one's from Reading Vine. It says the Golden Age. If I click on the one that looks like a piece of paper with writing on it, it says Read Mode. This looks the same on the iPad as it does on the computer. I'm just not going to switch back and forth. So here it takes something that would have been on the computer with ads on the side or a PDF they couldn't do anything with, and it makes it into almost read mode like on an iPad. If I click on Immersive Reader though, this is very cool, guys. Okay? Now I can, if I click on the double A's over here, I can change the size of the text. So if I have someone with visual problems, I can change that. I can make it smaller if I want to see more. I can increase the spacing, I can change the font, I can change what actual color is to make it look a little more appeasing here. if you're doing some kind of grammar that you want to practice within a piece of text, you can actually highlight specific parts of speech within the text. Now, I'm sure it misses some when things are used in more than one way, but for the most part, that's very cool. So if I just click nouns, you can see the nouns turned purple. Okay? There's some reading preferences, so I can do line focus, so I can pick and say only 3 lines at a time are focused. Okay. Turn that off. And then at the bottom of every single one, if I close this, you'll see there is a play button. You're not going to hear it because my sound's not on, but it will read the text to them. There is sound settings, so you can change the voice, you can change the speed, all of that. But you can do that for a number of places that you can go get texts that maybe have stuff all around them, you want the kids to focus. This is all just part of Wakelet, which is very cool. ReadWorks and Common Lit, because they are logins, you cannot just like copy the link and put them in here and have it find the article. So anything else you have that takes you to an article, could even be, you know, professional development one, whatever. This is available for most websites. Isn't that cool?
So the sites that you just mentioned previously, reading volume.
Yep, I got it from here.
On here.
Yep. So I'm just gonna, let's see if I go to my library, I'm still logged in here. So here's the Civil War. If I click on the Civil War, it's thinking. It's gonna bring up some passages. Okay, so if I just click on the husband and father, this is the only one I want to see. I've got like ads over here. The kids don't log into this. I just log in as the teacher. This is the article, and it says create my PDF. I can do that, but I can also just copy and paste this link at the top, and will take everything away from the sides of this and just give them the reading view of this. So my students weren't going to be able to read this digitally before because there's not student logins. It's just print out the PDF. I mean, you could have shared the PDF digitally with them, but Wakelet allows me to use that link to just get the text off that page.
And you said that was all covered in that video.
Yes,
right?
yep, it's all there.
Awesome. Thank
Yep.
you.
Can you annotate like once it's in Wakelet, like that's
Let's see.
the perfect spacing in between
Yes,
the
it
lines,
is.
so.
And I don't think at this time, but it's so new that I'm sure that it's on its way.
I mean, I'm thinking like you can make a class pick or something so you can make it work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's like really good spacing.
Yeah. Well, here the other thing is, like if I click on a word, it'll tell me the word and it gives a picture to explain what the word means. Now, it's not going to do that for all of them. Folk, it doesn't have one, but mighty, mountain, okay, it gives a visual, and I didn't put a grade level in here, I didn't say anything. Because, you know, in some of those online tools where you click on a word, it gives like, noun, blah, 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 blah. Well, if they don't know what the first word means, they're not going to know what any of the rest of that means. So this is really cool that you can click on a word, and for most common words, it's going to give you a picture definition of it.
And I assume the speaker's pronunciation.
Yes, yep.
Mountain.
There you go, mountain. Okay, isn't that cool? Okay, if you take one thing away, Wakelet, you've got it. I'm going to go back here. Some other things you can do with Wakelet. You're curating readings and activities, so anything that you have a link to, you can put in there. You can give independent directions via Flipgrid. You don't even have to have your kids have Flipgrid accounts. If I go, let me go log in. Because let's face it, part of ELA time, they're probably working in stations of some kind. So if you need them to do a specified list of things, they need some directions, because even if you give the directions 3 times, they're still poking you, right? That was, oh man, when I was doing guided reading with 12-year-olds, they're poking me. No, don't poke. Figure it out. But I don't have a pencil. I don't care. Figure it out. Okay? So if I go down here, this is what Wakelet looks like when you're editing it. See, I have a plus sign. I'm gonna hit my plus sign. I can paste a URL. I can add text. I can add a YouTube. I can add tweets, bookmarks, an image, a PDF, something from my drive, and then Flipgrid video. If I click that, it actually brings up Flipgrid. Okay, if you don't have an account, it'll log in with the account that's on here. You can say Google, done. Your kids don't have to have Flipgrid accounts. but you can give video directions. I tried it last night, but, you know, I was sitting in my hotel room, and I figured you all didn't want to see that, so. It made it right within the browser. You click save, pops up. Instead of you giving directions 10 times that are the same over and over again, you could do that very easily in your classroom so your kids have something ready to go. And then, what's even better, because you can just share this link, you can also share this with co-teachers, or you can share it with parents, or you can share it with whoever, for whatever reason you're making the Wakelet, okay? Do I have any, like, instructional technology people, like myself in here? PD, okay? Yeah, it's, yeah, it's perfect. And you can do screenshots and text, and screenshots and text. What am I supposed to do next? Look at the next picture, okay? I saw a hand.
Yeah, so you take the video from Flipgrid and then would you upload that to Google Classroom and then tell them the directions for Google Classroom, or is it all through?
This will save it right here within this line of.
It'll save it.
Yep. Okay. It has not a lot to do with ELA, but it's very cool, so I wanted to share it. But a lot of things you can do within ELA to do this, okay? All right, I'm gonna go back now. And I skipped over this slide. These are just websites with text. They don't require logins, but they are things that are very cool. Okay, Time for Kids, if I click on that, it takes me just to Time for Kids, which is a subscription service, but they have some free things on their website. And you see here, to view student articles, please select your grade level. So it's going to give you articles that are ready to go for your grade level. I wouldn't say they add 1 a week, but maybe 3 a month that are new. If I click K-1, just as an example, it's thinking. It's really thinking, but it's going to give you a nice, clean article. Some of them have, okay, what's a cave? Let's click on that. That's from the 21st. Okay, so bright pictures, lots of things from National Geographic. Okay, it's very cool. Look, I've got some vocabulary here. Same thing. If it's highlighted, I can press play, I can hear it. There's a picture of it, and there's more information. Be careful not to hit your head on a stalactite. Some of them have videos. Some of them have little diagrams like this. Some even have a few questions. But they're all very short, but it's nonfiction, high interest text. Okay? And Wonderopolis, I will talk about until the end of time, because I just find it so useful, and now that's also one that can be put into Wakelet and get the immersive reader. If I click on that, it takes me to a wonder of the day. Every day there's a new one. It's not level text, but there are supports in there to help even people who can't read it. So today it is, how clean can our bodies get? Well, they're usually appropriate, so you don't have to worry about clicking on something that's not, you know. So it gives you questions. Have you ever wondered how clean our bodies can get? Why are towels dirty after we use them? What are microorganisms? So it gives you kind of purpose for reading. Lots of pictures and videos that go along with it. And then here's the article. Okay, again, I've got vocabulary that's pointed out. If I hover over it, it gives me a definition. I have hyperlinks that will take me to more information about things that I might not know about. I do have the ability to listen to this if I can't read it. And it's something great that you can even do as a whole class. Okay? There's something at the end called Try It Out, where you can try things. But what I gave you in the presentation, a link to some resources. Again, I stole these, I didn't make them. But I put them all in one place for you. It's thinking again. So I did this one with my staff last week. It was a Wonderopolis 3-2-1, and it was, you know, what are 3 things you learned? What are 2 things that you still want to learn? And what's 1 question you still have? Okay? There's an educator's guide. There's a create your own wonder. So my teachers really gravitated toward this for writing. When they're thinking of coming up with projects for them to do, and they're writing not just a 5-paragraph essay that's a narrative or persuasive, get them thinking about something that they wonder about. It gives them a nice 2-page form of how to structure that so that they can actually write their own wonder of the day. Okay, it gives them, you know, a little bit of excitement there. You can write about something they like. And then there's a trifold there that maybe once a month you have them read a wonder of the day of their choice. They can fill that out, and there's graphic organizers and all kinds of things. So that's all linked for you and accessible through Google. But again, all of that stuff on the side of Wonderopolis is taken away when it's put on here, on the Wakelet, okay?
You said Wonderopolis was not level, is it broken down?
It's
by
not,
grades?
it's not,
Not-
it is just text.
Just that.
Yep, and I would say it's probably, grades 4 to 6 on
That's
level.
what it was looking like,
Yeah.
so not
Yeah.
first grade.
Yeah, but I think there's things you can take from it, either as a small group or, or chunks to get the idea, okay? Alright, so those are all the kinds of text. And that's good, because I'm like halfway through here. So, other ways you can use Wakelet: organizing resources, for yourself, for others, and even digital storytelling, okay? So I hope you liked that. 2 things I just want to mention quick. We use online book collections. I'm sure a lot of you use Epic, yes? We also have a subscription to Storia, which is, remember when it used to be in the back of the book order? Like, you can buy 1 Storia book. Well, now it is just for schools. We subscribe to that, and what I have to tell my teachers all of the time is Storia is made for instruction. It is all leveled. It has teacher tip cards that is, I would say, a entire lesson for almost half of the books, like in those guided reading packets you get. What question do you ask on this page? Here's a writing extension. Here's vocabulary. Here's the skill that it tackles. For like half the books, it has that. Epic, it says the Netflix of children's books. It is. It's high interest. It is books that kids want to read right now. It is free for teachers, but the kids can't access it at home unless the parents subscribe. Our Storia one, because we subscribe to it, the parents can and kids can access it at home. So those are just some things for your information, but there's other ones out there, online book collections. One thing my teachers struggle with is, well, they don't have to finish the whole book. I said, well, did they finish the whole book when they took the book off the shelf in your classroom library? When you're like, oh, we have 5 minutes, pick a book. Oh, I don't have my book. Well, go pick one off the shelf. Well, then they put it back. They don't ever finish the book. So I finally got someone to say that the other day in service. They're like, Kristen, you're right. That does happen. Well, okay. So we need to teach them how to read. We need to teach them how to read an entire book. What is the benefit of reading an entire book? That has nothing to do with technology. That has to do with teaching someone the value of reading. So, yes, I can access more books than I have in my classroom library. Boom. Okay, so now I want to talk about what you can do with the iPad in relation to books that you're reading. So, 2 of the apps that we use a lot, Chatterpix Kids, Piccollage EDU, both are free, both are wonderful, both can be done in under 5 minutes, okay? The first link I have for you here actually came from Seesaw. How many Seesawers do I have? Oh, good job, folks. This actually came from the activity library before it was the activity library, when it was just the template library. So I took a lot of templates out for my teachers that I feel like they would use a lot within ELA, and I put them in this Google Drive so they could download it onto their iPad and either push it out through Seesaw or whatever, so the kids can use it in either Piccollage or Chatterpix. So there you go. They're the same things that are in the activity library, but this is just the ELA ones. One thing that, before I show you the other ones that I've made, Book Snaps is something that I have introduced to the teachers as a way for kids to make connections to the text. So this is talking about it in Seesaw. You can do it in any app. Piccollage, let's say. So you're really just going to take a picture, you're going to write a caption, you might annotate it on it a little bit, and then you're going to share it. So here's an example. Here's some text. So maybe they circle it and they're going to ask a question about it. We use Notice a Note in our district. Has anyone heard of Notice a Note? Okay. So we are doing signposts. They're looking for clues within a text to make connections to these questions. So anything that they can highlight, they can add another picture on top. They can add some text. I'm going to show you some examples of those, but we call that a book snap. I'm not letting my kids use Snapchat. That's not what's happening. But if you want to look at the rest of these, it's just a great way. So here's cause and effect. calls is one color, effect is another color. The kids are diving into the text and they're using all of those strategies and practicing those skills that we're getting them to answer questions about, but in relation to the words on the page. So, I really like it. Alright, so let's move on here. 2 other ones just before I show the examples. Poplit Lite is free, iBrainstorm is free. iBrainstorm is more like the Venn diagrams and stuff. Poplit Lite, if you click on that, there's more information. You can add pictures, you can write on things, you can add text, and make a nice little diagram. Okay, here we go, sequence of events. So I took quiet, there's a canary in the library, okay? I had this book with me. So let's say my skill is sequence of events. Just using the Reminders app on the iPad, okay? No other app. I put sequence of events at the top, and I typed what are the 4 events that happen and in what order did it happen, okay? I took a screenshot of it. I could have put it into Seesaw, I could have put it into Google, whatever you want to do, but just using an app that's already on the iPad, I'm not signed into an Apple ID, okay? If the Reminders app is there and accessible to the students, they can make a list of anything, but sequence of events really matches that, so they can go through a book and they can do that. What's another skill does someone think that could be used with a list? Supporting details, so maybe the main idea and then what are the supporting details underneath it? Anyone else? Awesome. It's okay, I'm putting you on the spot. But what I am trying to more and more get my teachers out of the idea that they have to use an app to create something. You don't have to, the iPad itself has a lot of tools, okay? The next one, okay, examples of language. So this was just using the markup tool. So I took a picture of this page of the book, and I kind of did a book snap, okay? A porcupine, how divine. So I highlighted porcupine, I highlighted divine, and I said example of a rhyme, okay? That's just using the tool that when you take a picture of something, you can click markup, highlight it, you can write on it, and you can also type, okay? All right, character study, okay? Using ChatterPix. If I want to talk about characters, I want to talk about their characteristics of the characters, what the character's thinking, dialogue, okay? This is ChatterPix.
My name is Carrie. I spent the day at the library, and I imagined that I would let birds and animals into the library for one day.
Okay, so you saw her little mouth moving. Okay, it wasn't a great example of characters, but there's not a lot of words to work with in this book. So I took a picture of all of the characters. Those are all the characters in the book, and I made her talk about herself as a character. Okay, this can only be 30 seconds. ChatterPix doesn't let you go above 30 seconds. So this could be an activity that you're doing right when you're reading with the kids. Okay, and they love to make things, you know, talk and all of that. So very quick, very easy. Retelling. Okay, here's one of those templates. Okay, I saved it to my device. I put it into Pic Collage, and then within Pic Collage, for who, I just used emojis to say who. I could have typed it. I could have put the names of the characters, but I put a girl and then a lady with 2 boys, so those were the other people in the library. What they're reading. When was it? Saturday, that's a sticker from Pic Collage. Where were they at? The library, and why? Because they love books, or love to read. So again, I didn't have to put a lot of text. They're not trying to write with their finger, although they could. You can doodle on top of this. They could write, but it's something quick and easy that they can do, okay? And it's Pic Collage for kids, which is Pic EDU, I think it says, Pic Kids. It's screened, so there aren't inappropriate stickers and pictures and stuff on there, okay? Any other, what else do you think we could do with something like Pic Collage besides like a retell? John?
Figurative language. I have a middle school teacher. She does figurative language stuff with Pic Collage, so it's really, the kids really come up with different ideas of how to do it with using the stickers and everything else on just the photos that they do. It really works well.
Yep, and what I like about all of these apps that I just shared with you, they can be saved to the camera roll, And once it's saved to the camera roll, everyone, where can I put it? Seesaw. Yes. Okay. So yes, in Pic Collage they can't necessarily talk over this and explain to me, but once they put it in Seesaw, they can. You can do the same kind of things right within Seesaw as well. I do like to mix it up a little bit sometimes, so they're not just always going to Seesaw, always going to drawing, uploading a picture, drawing on top of it. Just some variety. Okay. But these few apps, Chatterpix, Pic Collage, very easy to learn, easy for the kids to get a hold of, and you can make connections to these texts and take pictures of the pages, have them really dive into it. Okay? Questions about those? All right. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about publishing. We use an app called My Story. It was free one day, and we bought a lot of licenses, so always look at those free things. But it's kind of like Book Creator used to be. You can put multiple pictures on a page, you can record on each page, and then you can save it either as a PDF or a movie if you added voice. But we really do a lot of things in Seesaw. Okay, I can't tell you enough the impact that Seesaw's had on our elementary classrooms with use of the iPads. That link to do it all with Seesaw is to my past presentations on Seesaw and every resource I give my teachers. So please use whatever you want there. Being able to annotate and record over images like we just showed with Pic Collage, then being able to share it with each other, with their parents. I'm really a big proponent of sharing it with the parents because then you can have an intelligent conversation with your child, which as intelligent as you can with a 4th grader. But about, hey, what'd you do in school today? Nothing. Well, Micah, I can tell you that I got an email from your teacher, and I can see that you were doing signposts and you found an aha moment in this book. What else did you learn about it in that book? I can actually talk to him about it because I can see it. So anything that's shared to the camera roll, right in there, add more layers on top of it, or don't. Mix it up. Make sure to always balance so that you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, because we'll just end up in the same place we were before. Okay?
Is Seesaw free?
Seesaw is free. We have, for the first year, we're Seesaw for Schools. All that means for us is that I can manage the user accounts, and their portfolios will roll over to next year, so they can keep accessing their stuff. And we have unlimited access to activities.
So that version is not free, but there is a free version?
Yes, there's a free version. It's just limited activities, and a few other things that are just limited. But you can do most of the things. And kids can log in with their Google account. They have a Google account.
That's in the free version?
Yes. Yep. We used the free for a long time. Yeah. I just said, you know what? We've got a lot of people doing this. If we can get more if you pay for it. So show a need, and then they're really good about sending principals these emails that say, your school has done this many tens of thousands of artifacts. And then my principals got on and they were like competing with each other. I said, you guys don't even do it. We're gonna get our teachers to do it. Thank you. See, look at that. This is something that I came across long ago. In fact, I shared this at a parent presentation when flip cams were a thing. Before cell phones had cameras. I actually used a Google Voice number for it that kids could call and speak, and then they could hear themselves after that. But it's a self-evaluation fluency, and if you look now, it is actually in Seesaw as one of the activities. But I like it because on the iPad, students can record themselves. They don't know what they sound like. We don't know what we sound like. I know everyone hates to hear themselves talk. Okay, they don't want to listen back after they record because, oh, I don't even want to do it. I feel the same way. But for kids, when they're learning how to read and learning what accuracy, rate, expression, and punctuation actually are, it's very important for them to hear themselves and realize, wait, I don't sound like you when I read. You're right, we need to work on this. So I like that, number one, it gives accuracy, but then does it say, did I read the words correctly? It explains what accuracy actually means. Rate, did I read the words not too fast but not too slow? Expression, did I read with feeling and not sound like a robot? And punctuation, did I follow most or all the punctuation marks as I read the text? And then all they have to do is color in or highlight whatever, one of the faces, and then they make it themselves a goal. Okay, there's a link to these documents down there. The colorful one is something you can put at a station. you know, have it up there for them, and then maybe this is a template that, again, they could take a picture of, or you could send to them somehow digitally that they can bring it up once a week and do kind of a self-check fluency. That's not timed, that's not, you know, read a page of this book. I always hated the time part. That was pressure. But if I just have to read this page of the book and answer this, I feel a lot better about that. Okay? For writing, we use an app called Write About This, which is also paid, but there, again, you can use a free version that you can only do a few stories on. But beyond this specific app, it gives prompts. There are lots of websites out there that have picture prompts, that have multiple prompts going to a visual image that students would connect a little more with than just, here's 2 lines of text that you have to respond to. So I really like that. They type their responses, and then they actually have the ability to record their voice as well. Now, what's happened since we started, our kids have gotten more proficient at typing on the iPad. So I've got a 3rd grade teacher who has loved this for the last 5 years, but now can't use it anymore because her kids write too much. They write for pleasure more than they write in a 5-paragraph essay in response to a prompt, which usually was a paragraph before. Now they're writing books. So this isn't even usable for her anymore, which is great, but she can still go in, and for the free version, can still go in and get the prompts, get the pictures, steal them, and use them in another way, okay? So that's probably, I don't know if any of you have seen that, you know, with the inception of using tablets for typing. We got rid of our computer labs, so it's kind of the only option at this point. I had people who were up in arms because we need to learn how to type. I'm like, they're not gonna learn how to type unless you have them type. So this was my way of getting it done, and now they're moving on to bigger and better things. What I wanna say about that one more time though is balance. They should also be writing with a paper and pencil, but they also need to learn how to type. So balance, always balance. All right, here's an example of something that you can do on the iPad very easily. Story in 6. It's a lesson plan from Discovery Education. Find images in Google and then put that image in Pic Collage, and then you have to annotate that with 6 words. So even the birds laugh at me is 6 words that explain that picture. So it talks about concise language, descriptive language. There's a whole website, 6-word memoirs on there, but it's a very quick activity that again gets them looking at a picture. What do you notice about this? What can I write about it? Make a caption for it. Done. Okay, it's not a huge long project. I have some links here for you about student commenting. We talked about this last week. There was very dramatic responses from my colleagues about my kids aren't ready to do that. Well, I understand that, but at some point, someone somewhere has to be ready to do it so we can do it, or else we'll get to high school and they'll never have commented on anything because everyone's scared. So we're working on trying to come up with what's the best plan of action. When is it good to start that? When is it appropriate to start that? But we need to prepare students for social writing. Okay, we need to prepare them for things besides writing a 5-paragraph essay, because once we all left college and did our graduate work, how many 5-paragraph essays do we write on a daily basis? Okay, how many times do we respond to something on Facebook or Twitter? All right, so not that those things are not important, but we need to teach this as well. So we're trying to find a sweet spot. So if anyone has the answer to that, I am open ears, because, whew. But there's just some guidelines for you. Okay, that one's from Seesaw. Here's like prompts to get started for commenting. One of the things I always tell them, one well-placed emoji is all you get, okay? Because one class, the 3rd graders, they were doing kid log. They started responding to each other and they wanted to do 10 emojis. I said, no, we're finding 1 emoji. You should be able to sum up what you're trying to say with 1 emoji at the end, and it's not the poop one. Do not put the poop emoji. It's just never gonna work, guys. We're not gonna use that to respond. So we kind of started with that as a, hey, I know you like emojis. I know emojis can tell you lots of things about what you're thinking, but pick one. Make it a good one. Just for some other differentiated things, we have differentiated spelling and vocabulary. We use Vocabulary Spelling City for that. We don't pay for that either. I've had teachers wanna do the spelling test and they just do it and have the kids take a screenshot and send it to them. They don't put the kids' names in, they don't do anything, it's just, here you go, it says it to them, especially when they have differentiated lists, because they don't want to have to give 3 tests at the same time or whatever. So it will read the word to them, the kids can type it in. When the keyboard comes up, it doesn't give them the predictive text, so that works. But that's now, it's premium for the app. We use the website as like a link instead. It's just a little harder to get to, but we still make it work. And then Quizlet, we have differentiated sight word lists for all of our grade levels, starting with the Dolch words. So we have all of those, and then some people add their own vocab in for their units. I like the audio option for that, just like with all of the reading, that if a student does not know one of the words or cannot pronounce it correctly, they can click it and it'll say the word for them. I know we're not talking about math, but I have a really cool math fact challenge that one of my teachers does, and they keep a running total on the back. He points them to a specific flashcard group for multiplication or whatever, and they keep trying to beat each other. And the top 5 are always listed, and at the end of the week, those top 5 get to eat pizza with the teacher or something. So. And then these are just free things. DuckDuckMoose made all of their apps free. We use the Princess Fairy Tale Maker and the Superhero Comic Maker even up through high school because it's just fun. You get different backgrounds and you get characters that are stickers, and when you talk and you click on the characters, they like walk back and forth. You can't add words to them though, you just speak. Okay, so it's not like writing a comic with captions. But you can use it to get the idea across about a topic, about a skill. Maybe you're doing predictions, maybe you're doing summarizing. Students can use those, and we put both on so that people can pick which one they want to use. Draw and Tell I use at K-1, which is kind of an introduction to something like Seesaw, where they can write, put pictures on, annotate. And then these two, WordWagon and DuckDuckMoose Reading, are K-1 beginning reader apps, totally free. They don't have logins, you just click on it, and this is the first time that I actually saw an app that I had no idea what to do on. And I said, I don't understand, what are we doing here? I gave it to a group of kindergartners and they figured it out. Look at eSplit. So it is one that is discovery. So you click on things, you see what happens, and then it leads you to click on other things, but it's introducing letters, sounds, rhyming, all kinds of things. So they're kind of good things to have in your back pocket for your low readers. All right, that is all I have. So I'm gonna go back to the very beginning. Please, please come back to this at some point when you get back. Everything is linked to resources, to websites, so if you still need this. But otherwise, thank you for your time. I hope you found 1 or 2 things you can take with you.
Please reach out if you need anything. I can try to make